Good morning, Avery.
Hi.
I'm just going to give it another 2 minutes. How'd you make out yesterday?
Good.
Yeah, you're all caught up?
Yep.
Okay. We're going to start 7.1 this morning. And at the end of our meet this morning, I'll post an assignment. Rose up. You're back. All right. Okay, I don't see anybody else joining just yet, but we are at just at 10 o'clock. So, okay, so what we're doing today is we're just learning more about graphs. So we did a little bit of slope and domain and range in the last section, but we are going to be more focused on the actual equations of graphs today. So I'm not sure how much we did or you've done with graphing up to this point, but I'm going to go through it as if you've done limited amounts. So when I look at a graph or at an equation, if the equation is in the form y equals mx plus b, the m, the value, the coefficient, the number that's in front of the x acts as our slope. I call it my map, which coincides with the m. The b is my y-intercept. So that's where my starting coordinate is on my graph. So when I look at the equation, when it's in this form, I say, okay, first thing I'm going to do is I look at y equals 2x plus 1, and I say, all right, well, what's my slope? I put a 1 underneath so that I understand that I have a rise and a run. So it's 2 over 1. And what's my y-intercept? My y-intercept is 1. Okay? Because the b value is 1. That's where I find it in the equation. The value in front of the x is my slope. So that's my 2. So far, so good?
Yep.
Okay. So what I do then is I go to my b part. So that's my starting coordinate. I go to 0 and 1 right here. There's 0 and 1. Now my map tells me where to go. Where does my map tell me to go? It says go up 2. So that I go up 2. And then I go right 1. So I go 1 to the right. Have you seen this before?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So now, once I have 2 coordinates, I can draw my line through it without any issues. All right? So far, so good?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's going from an equation to a graph. What we want to be able to do is go back and forth. We want to now take a graph and write the equation for the graph. So if you look in your book on page 142, they give you a graph. That 3. Excuse me. Right here. And 1.5. All right. So this is the first lesson And I'm going to give you as to how you want to write equations down. And we're going to do it for lines through grade 10. Grade 11, we do it for parabolas. And grade 12, we do it for everything. So this is your first really, really important lesson on how to write equations. So to begin with, I write my equation always with my very base equation. Y equals mx plus b. I always start with y equals mx plus b. Now, what are the two things that I need to find in this equation? I need to find a slope, so I need a number for m and a number for b. Now, x and y represent all of the coordinates on this graph. They just stand for if I took this coordinate or this coordinate. That's what x and y are. So what I need to know is, first of all, when I'm looking at the graph, the first thing I likely find is what my y-intercept is. So I write in what my y-intercept is. So I go y equals, I'm just going to change my color here. Y equals mx plus, and where does it cross the y-axis at? 3. So there's the first thing that I find. So that's so far so good, right? The next thing that I want to find is my slope. Now you can, what we learned in the last section is you can do that one of two ways. You can get two coordinates, and with the two coordinates you can use your equation, or you can go from here and count as to how to get to the next coordinate. So I'm looking at this graph right now, and I see that the next coordinate that it actually goes through looks like to me is 1 and 1. It goes through right here. Okay? So you have to explain to me, how do I go from here to here? So you explain the up down first and then the left right second to get my slope. All right? So to go from here to here, do I go down to here? Do I go up or down?
Down.
Down. And how many down do I got to go?
2.
2. So I make that a -2. And then from there, so you've gone down 2, 1, 2. Now where do you go from there to get to the next coordinate?
Down.
You've already gone down 2, right?
Oh, up.
Okay, no, watch. So I'm starting up here, right? I'm starting at 3. I go down 2. Okay?
I go across.
And then I got to go across. Which direction do I have to go? Left or right?
Right.
Right 1. So that makes that a +1 on the bottom. Okay? So your equation then is -2x add 3. Okay? All right, just need one. You still there? I just lost connection. There we go. Okay, so it says, what is the slope of the line? Well, what is my slope? My slope is -2/1. Okay? It says, what is the y-intercept? Y-intercept is 3. And it says, what is the equation of the line in slope-intercept form? So I go y equals -2x add 3. So far, so good?
That's good.
Okay. So the next thing that we're going to do then is we're going to go through one example in those first 5 questions, just so that we know that we've got it right. Okay? All right. So we'll pick 1C to start with. I have y equals x. Now remember, your standard equation, your general equation, is y equals mx plus b, right? So this one says, what are the slope and the y-intercept? Okay? So what is my slope in this equation, y equals x?
X.
All right, now, that is what 90% of the population would say right off the start. In this equation, what is my slope?
B.
Okay, let's go back.
Right after Y.
Okay, let's do it a little different. Let's say, rather than right after y, let's say it's directly in front of the x. Can we do that? Yeah? Okay, so whatever the value is in front of the x directly is my m value. That's my slope. So let's try this again over here. So what is the value that's directly in front of my x right now?
Y.
What is it? No?
And directly in front of the X.
Yes.
I don't know.
You're not.
Y.
All right. Have a look again. This is okay. This is great for learning. All right. So it has to be, notice that this equation has a y equals, yet I'm still telling you that the value in front of the x is an m value. Okay?
Okay.
Now, I'm going to lead you to the right answer here so that you're going to understand it. But I want you to see that it's not necessary to write it in. But watch this. What is my slope now?
Is that just like a line?
Nope, that's a 1.
That's a 1.
Yeah.
So its slope is 1.
So the slope is 1. All right. Now, you get it?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, because there was no number written in front of it, you can assume that it's 1. Because what is 1 times x?
Just like 1.
Just like x. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. We'll say it's early this morning, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So back to this question then. My slope is 1 in this case, or 1 over 1. All right. It doesn't, if there's no value in front of it, we understand that it's a 1 then.
Yeah.
Okay. Now lots of people would say, which is good that you didn't, lots would say, well, it's a 0. No. Because 0 times x, that wouldn't exist. There'd be no value there. So it's a 1 in front of it, okay? All right? And then, now, just as I say that, I'm going to throw another curveball at you. What is my b value here? There's nothing there. What do you think your b value is?
1.
If it was, I would have this written.
Oh, so it's nothing?
So what's another way of saying nothing? What's a mathematical number for nothing? 0.
0?
There you go. There we have it right there. Okay?
Okay.
So you follow that? I gave you the toughest one to start with.
Yeah.
All right? So what we learned from this is that if there's no value in front of the x, it's a 1. There is a value there. That is my slope. Okay?
Okay.
And if there's no value out here, that's like saying plus 0. All right? All right. Now, just because we've got time and let's keep learning, I'm going to graph this for you using a table of values. So I want you to see something. All right? So I'm going to pick, randomly, I'm going to pick 3 x values, okay? And I'm going to write out what the y values are. So -1, 0, and 1. So when I put -1 in for x, what does y equal? What does y equal?
-1.
-1. When I put a 0 in for x, what does y equal?
0.
0. And when I put a 1 in for x, what does y equal? Excuse me.
1.
Oh, shoot. That's correct. So if I'm graphing that, that's what my graph looks like, correct? I have -1, -1, 0, 0, and 1, 1. That's what my graph looks like. Okay? So if I asked you to make an equation for this graph using y equals mx plus b, right? I said, okay, what's your y-intercept? So where does that line cross the y-axis?
0.
0. That's plus 0, right? And then how do I go from this coordinate to this coordinate?
1.
1 up and
1 side.
1 to the
Right.
right. So I get y equals 1 over 1x for that graph, right? So far, so good? Watch this. What's 1 times x?
X.
What's x plus 0?
X.
There's my equation.
Okay.
Right there. Okay? So, if you're not sure, graph it and count. That's just as simple. That will get you the full marks all the time. That will get you to the answer. If you are unsure of your equation based on the, or if you're unsure of how the graph looks, just sketch it quickly, and then you can count to get your slope and your y-intercept. You can see that it's on the graph. Okay?
Okay.
All right. Now, number 2 wants us to do the same thing. But the difference with number 2 is they're not in this form yet. So in order to get it in that form, y equals mx plus b, I have to have y on one side by itself and everything else on the other side. Okay? So I got to do a bit of algebra here. So I've got, right now I have this. Y minus 4x equals 12. So I need to get y by itself. So what do I have to move over to the other side?
Divide.
No, just wait. Answer the question first. What do I have to move to the right side?
Oh. Y.
Okay, let's keep trying. You're doing great. This is what it needs to look like, right, Avery? That's what it needs to look like. Correct?
Yeah.
So how do I make that look like this? Sorry, I lost you there for a second. What do I have to move in order for this to look like that?
The equal sign.
Yeah, and where would I have to move it to? I'd have to move it over to here, correct? Which I can't move an equal sign. But I can move -4x, can I not?
Yeah.
All right. So in order to move -4x, I'm going to do the opposite. So instead of subtracting 4x, what's the opposite of subtracting 4x?
Adding 4x.
So I'm going to add 4x to the other side. So y equals 4x add 12. Is that now in the same form that I wanted it? Y equals mx plus b?
Yeah.
All right. And what's my slope in that equation?
4.
Over?
1.
1, right? And what's my y-intercept?
12.
Very good. You got it. Okay? So I need to get that guy by itself. I move everything away from it. So in this case, I added 4x to get it to the other side. Once it's in that form, the value in front of the x is my slope. The b value on the outside is my y-intercept. So far, so good?
Yep.
Okay, you copy that down.
Okay.
All right. Okay. So let's look at number 3 now. This time we'll pick 3D. Okay. It says, given the slope and y-intercept, write an equation of the line in slope-intercept form. All right. So slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. All right. The reason they call that slope-intercept form is because we get our slope and our y-intercept from that equation when it's written like that. All right. Now what we have to do is we have to fill in 3D, we have to fill in what the slope is and what the y-intercept is. Okay. So my slope in that question is what?
0.5.
0.5. But because we're working with slope, we want to have fractions. So we have a rise over run. So what is 0.5 as a fraction?
Like just 1/2. No.
Yes, it is. Very good. 1/2 x. That's right. Okay. And then what's my y-intercept?
0.
So do I have to write anything else?
Nope.
Nope. I can. I wouldn't mark you wrong if you did this, but it's not necessary. There's your answer. All right?
Okay.
Okay. So, number 4 now. Number 4, I am going to pick I'm going to pick F. All right. They want us to graph that. But in order to graph that, I have to put that into y equals mx plus b form. Okay? So I need to get the y by itself. So what am I moving?
The equal, like the 5x.
Okay, so this.
You have to do the -4.
Yes, very good. Good recovery. I want to get rid of that 4. Remember, I'm trying to get y by itself, so I got to move everything to the right side. So I'm going to subtract 4, like you just said. So I have this right here. Okay, so what's my slope? Give it to me as a fraction, 5 over. And what's my y-intercept?
-4.
Okay, so to graph it, remember my y-intercept is my starting point. So I have to go to 0 and -4, which is right here. That's where I start. And then where does my slope tell me to go?
To 5.
Okay, so remember, my slope is a rise over run. So it's telling me to go up or down first, and then left or right second. So knowing that, what is that slope telling me to do?
Go up.
Up how much?
5.
Yeah, and then what direction?
Right.
How much?
4. Or no, 1.
1. And then I draw my line. I've just graphed it. Okay. This guy tells you where to start. That's my starting point. And it's always on the y-axis because I found it when x was 0. This guy, up and over. Okay? You want to write that down? Okay? All right, let's look at number 5 and then we're done. We'll look at 5B. From the graph, we want to write out an equation. So we want y equals mx plus b. So what I would suggest to you, the first thing you should do is look at your graph and tell me what the y-intercept is. So we're on 5B. What's your y-intercept?
4.
4.
4.
Okay. Now, start there and tell me how to get to that next coordinate that's on there.
Go over 2.
Okay, now remember, slope is rise over run, right?
Oh, so it's 4.
No, just listen. Just listen. You're doing okay. You're doing okay. It's your order that I want you to fix. All right? I want you to tell me always up or down first, and then left or right.
Okay.
Okay, so which way do I go? I'm using up or down first.
Go up first, or do you go side first?
You got to go up or down first. Now you're starting at 4, Avery. Okay, just have a look here. I'll draw it on the board for you. You're starting here, and you want to go to here. Okay, so look on your graph. This is what I want to do. I want to go there and there. So you're telling your sister how to walk from here to here. And she can't go in a straight line. She's got to use the blocks because there's water between her and there. She can't swim. So we're going to go from here over to here. So you got to tell her, what direction do you go from here to get to there?
That's 2.
Which direction? Up or down?
Down.
Down 2, and then what? Once she goes down 2, where does she go then?
Left 2.
So if she goes down 2, she goes from here to here, right?
Yeah. Oh, and then she goes right 2.
Okay, so I have to write that up here. My down is a negative 2. My right is a positive 2.
Okay.
Okay? So my equation for this line then should have been y equals negative 1x add 4. Because negative 2 divided by 2 is negative 1.
Okay.
You follow that? I still feel like you're having difficulty on the slope part of this.
Order.
Okay, let's try another one then. Let's do 5a then. So I got y equals mx plus b. So the first thing you do in A, start with where your y-intercept is. So where's your y-intercept in A?
1.
1. So I've got y equals mx add 1. So far, so good.
Yeah.
Okay, now I'm going to draw it up here again. Now, Avery, you can pick any coordinate you want on the graph. Now, I'm looking at it, and I would pick this coordinate and this coordinate. Okay? And your starting coordinate is the one that's on the y-axis. Which is the y-axis? That's the up and down. Right? So you got to go from here over to here. How do you explain that to somebody?
Down 1.
And?
Down 1 and left 1.
Awesome. You nailed it. So how do I write down 1? Minus 1 on top. Right? And how do I write left 1? Minus 1 on the bottom. Okay?
Okay.
So
Yeah,
what?
I get it now.
All right, girl. Now you got her. Okay?
Okay.
Perfect.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. All right. So I'll leave that with you then. 7.1.
Okay.
I'm going to, you can work away at that a little bit today.
Okay.
And I'm going to post on Edmodo right now an assignment for your class.
Okay.
All right? Great. Have a good day. We'll talk to you later.
Okay. Thank
Okay.
you.
Bye. You're welcome. Bye.